Welcome to Take a Wander with Shebs. My guest at this point is Dubrovnik's tourist guide, photographer and broadcaster Ivan Vukovic. Ivan, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. How are you and where in the world are you?
Thank you for inviting me. At the moment, I'm in Dubrovnik, my hometown. It's a high season, so I'm using the opportunity to be home from April to beginning of November.
If you let the audience know who you are.
I love when you start with the toughest question, and I will try to do it very brief because I'm a traveler by passion, I'm a photographer by love, and I'm a tour guide by profession. So that's the easiest way how to explain what I do and what's my freelance kind of the work in Croatia.
Before I get into your work, we go back to your early days. How did it all begin and how did you first start falling in love with travel?
Young and bold, not bold as a bold, but brave. So I started to travel with my parents as a kid. So they've been taking me all around, mostly former Yugoslavia, then through the Eastern Bloc countries. And then after the war in Croatia, some Americans started to send me National Geographic magazines. And somehow I started to work with National Geographic, like 15 years after. So it was like a dream coming true for the kid who started from the scratch. And I got that travel bug, every single travel. I wanted to do it more. I want to experience more, be richer in some sort of a way, and coming back home and try to tell the people about my experiences, what I saw, what I like, what I don't like, and all that kind of the stuff. So, and I never stopped traveling since then. So more than 20 years ago, when I started, I'm never in one place.
A war that happened,
Yeah.
and did that obviously have an impact on you growing up as well?
For sure, it made us stronger, but I was 11 years old. So I now look like I'm 27, but thank you for the compliments. I'm 41. So,
You look good for your age. You look good for your age.
it was to see the bad side of the life. So I hope it will never repeat again that I have to go through it because I think once was more than enough. And you started to appreciate it, the first the small things. And I made my career, I make money, I have lots of connections. But after every single season in November, I go to Africa to do the volunteer work, to charity, just to reset myself, just to see that I'm a pretty small to comparing to the world. And then I like to appreciate it again. When I see Africa, I return back home and I'm like, okay, I am satisfied what I have in Croatia. But being through the war, it makes you pretty strong.
Is there a specific reason why you travel as well?
As I read many books and many magazines, I want to see something. So sometimes it does not matter how much it costs because I want to see that place. And I go there and then I will see it does it exceed my expectations or not. But I want to experience everything, from one side of the world to another side of the world and all other different cool experiences because every country around the world has something to offer. But of course, that I have my bucket list of the things which I still want to do. So there's never more enough time and a free time that you want to spend traveling.
I'll come on to your business now, the Dubrovnik Tourist Guide, as you call it. How did it all begin when it comes to your tour guide career? Who was your inspiration? And also, did you have to actually do a course in, I guess, being a tour guide?
Yeah, because after university, you have almost like a year to do the course, which are a couple of exams, a couple, what, 12 to 15.
12 to 15 exams?
Yeah.
That's a lot of exams.
It's huge because Dubrovnik is UNESCO World Heritage Site place, so we need to know the history very well. So my sister was a person who would tell me that I would be good at it. She's more like a history professor type, she can make it boring. Sorry, sister. But, I want to make people laugh, to entertain them, to ask them many more questions, to be more engaged in the history, because they will fall asleep if you start being boring and with the same voice. But my father was mostly my role model because he was a professor of the world literature and he loved history and art, history of art. So when we traveled around, he was showing me around the museums. He was telling me the stories. And you know how this area is a very complicated one. Like grandparents were telling you what was happening in the times of Yugoslavia, in a World War II, before World War II. So they've been like encyclopedia, and you've been listening to them and talking to them and getting the first-hand experience from them. And then it became my passion, my drive, and I always go 100%, like sports, 100%, or if I think that I'm not going to do it 100%, I will not do it. Even nowadays, if I feel overwhelmed with tourism and inquiries, I will go at the beach and I will say like I need to reset for a day because I will not give the best of myself to the tourists, to all other clients. And then, through Instagram, through Twitter, through all the social media, people can easily find me because I put Dubrovnik as a name. Everybody Googles about Dubrovnik Tourist guide in case you need a guide. So I try to channel everything from all the documentaries through my social exposure that people come and see me on my tour and, do mostly like private tours and they will get all the travel tips, what to do during the vacation.
When you first started, what was your actual intention? Did you imagine becoming as big as you have? What were your goals?
So I tried hard because, I was always fearing, oh my God, what if there is no season? What if I don't do it good? So you actually have a fear of the failing. And then it keeps you to go harder, stronger, forward. So I first started with the cruise ships, with the big groups, until people they don't hear about you, are you good or you are not good. Then people were starting to call you for the private tours. Then I connected with the agencies in Croatia and outside of the Croatia. And after that period, as I have on my website for a long period of the time, I started to get inquiries directly. So at some point at now, after like 20 years almost being a guide, I don't need to be booked by the Croatian agencies. People book me directly. And then you get one other problem. You get overbooked because, it becomes a blessing and a curse. You became successful and then you have a panic attack. How many people wants to go with you on a tour? I think that's a still good thing.
This is going to be quite a hard question, maybe to answer, but what makes you so unique compared to your other competitors?
Because, Dubrovnik is my home. I have lots of the stories, like, personal stories from my family who lives here for a long period of the time, probably centuries. And I want to show the people city off the beaten path. Because, you can read in a guide when the cathedral was built, when Dubrovnik was built and stuff, but I want to go in much more unexplored ways in the old town to get lost inside the city. And I think the real travelers want to hear about that. So actually, I specialize myself to work with the travelers and not with the tourists. Because, me as a traveler, I can take 5 photographs. I can take 0 if I don't want to. I just want to feel the area where I came to. Same thing happens to the people who are booking me. You can see that they are not tourists, the regular ones. They seen the world and they don't want to know more about the city, and that's probably the reason why they book me.
There must be times when you're doing it throughout the summer, you're getting tired, you're getting burned out. I know you said there that you maybe switch off and go to the beach, but what other challenging aspect do you have about this job?
The problem can be if things become overcrowded in a city, especially we had a huge problems with over tourism. Now it's under tourism, so things are shifting quite quickly at some point. Like, be careful what you wish for, because I was telling people, oh my God, this is too many, this needs to be reduced, and then COVID. Okay, be careful what you wish for. And then we've been waiting for the people to return back to Dubrovnik. But it's hard, when it's hot, humid, when there's so many people. But I I limit myself. I say to myself, okay, you will do 2 tours a day, early bird, late night. So during the day I can relax, be at the beach, talk to my friends, connect with my family. So, it always makes me happy. So when I have a drive to do 1 or 2 tours a day, I will do it, as I told you before, 100%, and people will be happy. You will never see me burn out. I will never do 4 tours, because I can't remember on the fourth tour what I was talking to the people from the first and second one. So I just want quality over quantity. Because if you asked me 10 years ago, I would tell you, I want more money, I want quantity. But people see it when you are burned out. So I'm always coming, to my tours with a smile.
I've noticed when I've gone on tours, and maybe it's the last one, you can tell the tour guide, this must be his third or fourth or fifth, and they're looking very tired. It's very important as a tour guide to have that high level of energy. And potentially, this is where it makes you stand out from the others.
Yeah, because you need to see who you want to work with. And of course, some people see you that you are tired and burned out. It's not fair for them, because they paid for it, especially if it's a private tour, and then you are not engaging. You just want it, to finish it through next 2 hours, and you are done and you go home. But then it will not leave the experience on the people who booked you. So, and they will never recommend you. So now I have a great things, because people recommend me from all around the world, because I did it with a passion. And of course, tour guiding is my drive, and I like to talk to the people. Where are you from? And then probably I've been to the place where they come from, and then I'm engaging myself and entertaining myself. Asking them, how is Washington D.C., how is Dubai, how is Sydney. So it's a good thing. That's how I'm having that start of conversation. Like breaking the ice.
The tours that you do, how long are they? Are they mainly in English, or do you speak other languages?
All my tours are in English. Some they've been in Italian, but my sister, she's for Italian and Spanish part. And I do mostly the tours which are up to 2 hours. Sometimes 2 hours in a heat can be sometimes pretty long when you are standing inside the walls. So I offer lots of the things, from the photography tours, like the tutorial ones, to wannabe creation, to the city tour, to the Game of Thrones, to movie tours, which many films have been filmed in the city. So people always find something which they are interested in, and I allow them to combine two in one for the same price and for the same time range. So, if people want to learn more about the city and Game of Thrones, they can have 2 tours in one.
Do you ever get bored doing the same thing over and over again? Does it become repetitive, or you're so passionate about Dubrovnik and your home city that it never gets boring?
Marriage can be repetitive, but being a guide, never. Because that's why I told you that I start conversation with the people, like why they are in Dubrovnik, what is their plan, how they are feeling here, where they come from, and all that stuff. So I get to know more about them than they get to know about Dubrovnik at some point. But you always put some things which you forgot to tell the people in a tour before, because history of Dubrovnik is a very wide spectrum. So you see the people, are they interested more in art, more in culture, more in history, more at time at leisure. So you always do the tour how they will like it to be done, more than talk about the history, and they're not that much of the history buffs. So it's never boring and it's never repetitive.
One of the things that's happened over the last 10, 15 years, you mentioned there the Game of Thrones, that has made the area very popular. I went to Dubrovnik. I was very fascinated in seeing those locations that the filming was done. Not just Game of Thrones, other programs from Hollywood to Bollywood have been filmed there.
Yep.
And you also mentioned before, and I haven't forgotten, you said over tourism is a problem sometimes. Now, the detriment to the, I guess, the area, conservation, for the long term, is it really good for Dubrovnik?
We got stigmatized by the war in the 90s. So people didn't want to come to Dubrovnik when the war ended, the beginning of 2000s. And they've been very shy and the numbers grew very, very slow. And then 10 years ago, Game of Thrones happened and people totally forgot what was happening before there was any kind of the war. So we've been stigmatized by Game of Thrones, which is a much better thing than be stigmatized by the warfare. And then cruise ships started in unlimited numbers to dock in the city. It's a problem of Dubrovnik. It's a walled city. You can't receive 5 cruise ships at the same time because that's a ridiculous thing to do to the people who live there and to the tourists who want to see it, but they can't enter the main entrance to the walled city. And we got a problem. We got stigmatized with over tourism. So when COVID happened, nobody wanted to be in Dubrovnik. The small amount of the people who traveled in 2020 and 21, they've been telling me, we don't want to be in Dubrovnik. There are cruise ships there. And there was none because they suffered the most. But, you can't tell the people, come to Dubrovnik, there's no cruise ships. So they didn't want to be last 2 years over here because they thought that they couldn't keep the physical distance and all other stuff regarding to pandemic. And then we now try to solve that problem to make it limited, to have it at most 2 cruise ships a day. But we are late, because over tourism happened, and Dubrovnik will be always in the same basket with Venice, Barcelona, Amsterdam, where many tourists made that kind of the problem. So we should react, before that when we saw that the numbers were increasing. But every bad place became Airbnb, lots of day trippers, lots of cruise ships. So we could see that kind of catastrophe coming to the city.
So the pandemic, in some respects, has maybe opened the eyes of the governments within Dubrovnik. And you said there are 2 cruise ships now compared to maybe 5, which is way too many, is a good thing. You are in the media as well. How did that come about then? Was it your work through as a tour guide that got you recognized? Because for people in the UK, for example, you were on a show called Travel Man on Channel 4 with Richard Ayawadi and Stephen Merchant. You've been on other shows on other platforms. How did that all come about?
In 2011, I started those first movie tours in Croatia, and it included lots of the things from Captain America from the 90s to some other things to Game of Thrones. And then people saw that I'm offering the tours, and the journalists were coming, all the British ones, all the German ones, all the American ones. And then some other people for the TV documentaries, they told me, okay, you do the photography, you know locations very well, you know pretty much about the light for the filming, so not to waste the time. And you are also a tour guide. Like, can you be in front of the camera? Tell us about the history because you're going to tell it correctly. We will be already on a location which you chose, which has a pretty good light. So we can make documentary in 3 days, not in 3 weeks. And then, when I did it, let's say with Channel 4, then I did it with ITV, with PBS, CBS, CNN Travel, like probably most of them except Netflix. So I was never connected to Netflix, but you never know. And that's how it all started. And then more and more people ask me to tell them the stories about Dubrovnik, about movies, about quarantine, about football, whatever, it's connected to Republic of Croatia. And I'm always engaging, like when you saw Travel Man, you make jokes with the people, you ask them so many questions. And I think that people like to see that kind. of engagement on TV, that nothing is boring and that people don't fall asleep while you are on TV. So probably when I get lots of the good feedback, they just continue to call me.
This is one thing actually that people might not know. We did some work before this show now, and from what I got from when we worked together on an interview that we did, you mentioned the engagement. You were so engaging, you were quick to respond. I'm telling you, if I had everyone like that, as similar to you, life would be so easy. So I can see why companies like the CNN, BBC, or PBS, they've approached you because you're very easy to work with.
Yeah, I know. I respond under 1 hour, which is
Which
the
is a good
crazy
thing.
thing.
Which is a good thing,
Yeah,
though.
which is pretty amazing thing, because in Croatia, when you send an email, you have to knock at people's door to tell them that you sent an email. So probably all those BBC, CNN, they had some problems with the people who they send emails to, because nobody responded. But I try to be like, within 1 hour to respond to my clients, to everybody who is asking me. And I'm always engaging, like I always try to help. There is a lots of people who are studying across the Europe, and they are studying movie tourism. So I was a part of many PhD things, just to help them out, just to have a thing, the vision, how Dubrovnik, survived over tourism, how Dubrovnik was put on a map because of Game of Thrones, how much money is made because of one TV show, which is like, crazy thing that only Harry Potter in London makes more money than Dubrovnik when it's considering movies and TV shows. So, and all those kind of the stuff. So people like to hear more new informations. And of course, the first-hand experience when you are on the front line of tourism, you see many good things and of course many bad things. So you want always to improve.
Do you see yourself continuously doing the tour guide, combining it with your media work, or have you got other aspirations?
I think I love it 100% what I do. Like I am pretty happy, so I call it my passion, not my job now at this point, because I like to do that storytelling. And I like it pretty much to give, all the advices, the story of my life, the history, and all that media work and all that social media exposure. So I'm like pretty happy. And it's funny because you never see yourself as a successful person. People see you as a successful person. So,
That's
they always
correct. Yeah.
call you, join us. Can you be speaker on a TEDx, on LEAP summits, all kind of the summits, all expo things. And you're like, why they're calling me?
Mhm.
Because you don't have that thing about yourself, but people read about you and they usually ask me how you manage to do all that. Do you ever sleep? Like, do you have good connections and stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. I am just persistent, because I learned one thing from Disney when I was a kid. It always said persistence, quality, and content. And I always do that. Like, when I even don't have time on my Instagram, on my Twitter, on my LinkedIn, there's never a photo which is taken just, oh, I have to publish something. I will never do that, because I don't want to have a bad photo being in my
Mhm.
portfolio. I want to make a story behind it, or if I'm inspired by something, I will share it.
Your time management, I guess, is really important.
Time is on our side. So I sleep at least 8 hours a day. And people are
Wow,
like,
you still sleep quite a
my,
bit.
oh my God, that's why I don't have any wrinkles, I'm that 27-year-old. But I need to be, I need the rest when I'm approaching the clients next day. So I do, let's say, the tour in the morning, early morning. Then I have a time for a coffee, for a brunch, for a snack, to respond my email somewhere in the side streets of Dubrovnik, where it's cooler and I'm not overrun by the people asking me questions. Then I can do the second one. Then I go at the beach. I can connect with my friends. I can read something, and then I can do the second or a third tour later afternoon, doing some other businesses, recommending the things. So I am very well organized, and it's a good thing of my business. When you become popular at some point, I'm already booked from the beginning of the year or from the end of the last year. So, you know, I always know how many things I can do, and I can always tell people, sorry, I'm booked. So I always manage my time very, very well.
Tell everybody why they should visit Dubrovnik this summer. And also, if it's not this summer, what are the other times that they can come to Dubrovnik? Obviously, you can go all year round, but what are the hotspot times, and what are the times when people should maybe avoid as well at the same time?
King's Landing from Game of Thrones, for sure that you need to visit Dubrovnik at least once in a lifetime. But I hate crowds. So, like, if you are a sun, sand, and sea person, you can be in Dubrovnik from June to October to swim and to enjoy. But history buffs, they're always coming here from November to March because more locals are going outside. Winter festivals, all kind of festivities, celebrities, not so many tourists. You get the city on your own, and it's a great thing because not so many restaurants are open. There's no tourist traps because most of tourist traps are using the big quantity of the people, to sell the things which are not good to the people, and you find them always in touristic places, and it's easier to travel around without, lots of the people and the crowds over there. But Dubrovnik as a city, if you want to be shoot back in time for like 500 years ago and to find yourself in some medieval place, for sure you need to be here.
Just before we finish, Ivan, and I wish you the best of luck with your tours, your media work. You're doing fantastic. It's great to see. It inspires me, by the way. Away from Dubrovnik, what other meaningful travel experience have you had?
Like something meaningful is for me traveling solo. When people say like, why do you travel solo? I think that you get to know yourself better than being in a group. Then you meet more new people, you listen to the more stories, even to the stories of the people you're not interested in, and you get more experiences. So I like the places which have a vibe, like away from Dubrovnik. I love Jerusalem. So if you ask me like what city has a vibe, Jerusalem has a vibe. I'm not a religious type of the person, but I get the goosebumps, being close to Jerusalem or to Rome. Rome is, I feel like a gladiator walking through that Foro Romano. So I have some places where I always like to return to be on my own, and that's mostly, of course, Kenya. For me, is last 8, 9, 10 years. It has a special place in my heart because I'm always returning back to Africa. You know how Hemingway says, once you leave Africa, nothing will be the same, and I can guarantee.
Is there a place that you haven't been quite yet that you've got on your agenda?
Oof, on my bucket list, I have Mongolia.
Sounds good.
Mongolia. As a Mongolia, I have South Africa.
Have you never been to South Africa?
I haven't. I've been to most of the Africa, but never to South Africa. Believe it or
Okay.
not, because we have some visa things. You have to go
Right.
to mid Europe, get visa done, and all that stuff. And I am like, I hate to do that. And like, I want to go also to Fiji, but sail to Fiji. All American Samoa, Fiji, like Polynesia. So we will see what I'm going to do this winter. Something will be on that bucket list.
Well, I'm sure wherever you go, it will be a pleasant experience. Just before I let you go, Ivan, please tell everybody where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you.
So it's easy, like on Google, when you type my name Ivan and you put Dubrovnik Tourist Guide, I think it will enlist everything from my website, which is dubrovniktouristguides.com, from Dubrovnik_tourist_guide Instagram, and it's all connected to LinkedIn, Twitter, all the social media. So I'm pretty easy to find. it's very hard, to hide in the modern times.
Fabulous. Well, Ivan, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show again. Really appreciate it. I will come to Dubrovnik again and I will give you a call and we can definitely take a tour and enjoy ourselves. So thank you very much.
Cheers. See you in Dubrovnik.
A fabulous discussion, and just a final reminder, if you want to work with Ivan or take a tour with him, all the important information are on your screen now. I hope you all enjoyed the show. That's it for Take a Wander with Shebs. Hope to see you all very soon. Until next time, bye for now.